Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Easy Does It, a podcast created specifically for the amazing members of the MJ team. Rob and I are excited to be back with you. We have our very first guest host episode of 2025 today, and I'm super excited for our guest.
She's not nervous. She's ready to roll. I'm so excited to introduce you guys. Y'all have probably had some run-in the hall, or maybe you thought you ran into Shalan, but in fact it was Meredith because they're the same person. But we're excited to welcome Shalan to the show. She's one of the kindest people that I know. She's a fireball, as you might know as well. You might find out today. She's incredibly smart, and if you ever aren't sure if you're on the right side of her, if her eyelashes are fluttering for any reason, quick eyelash blinks, you're in trouble. Our training manager, Shalan Fry. Welcome to the show.
I feel like should be a redemption podcast for all of the appearances. I've already been thrown under the bus in these podcasts before.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah.
I think, it was probably the first 5-6 episodes. I think you got thrown under the bus. And then it was just sporadic after that.
Yeah, more than that, though.
Did you count?
No, but I should have.
Yeah, you should take it as a compliment.
Yeah.
Okay.
See how much you come up here?
Oh, yeah. Great. I feel like when you guys record the podcast, there should be a Where's Waldo, but it should be my face under the hat.
Because it's coming.
Because it's coming at some point. I think I have the wrong reputation because of you two.
Well, today you can set it straight.
Okay. We'll see where this leads.
Okay. Would you rather over there?
Okay.
What do you have for us today?
I looked this up and I thought it was really good, but then the more I thought about it, I feel like it's also a really easy answer, but maybe it'll lead us into our show today. But would you rather live in a world without music or without books?
Who's supposed to answer that first?
This is for everybody. You go whenever you want.
I feel like this is a 1, 2, 3. Are we going to have the same answer? I think that's hard because I really do like music a lot. Mm-hmm. If I could have a superpower, I hope you all wrote that on your questions to ask, but if you didn't, I'll tell you anyway. I wish I could sing. So I don't know. I know that's what she said. I usually try to answer for Meredith when you're doing this in the podcast that I listen to see if we have the same answer.
Oh, I didn't know you did that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Are you, how close are you? How correct are you?
Usually pretty close.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
75, 80%?
Probably more like 90 or 95.
That's what I'm talking about.
So I don't know about that, but I think I would probably have to pick books. I can't live without my books.
Yeah.
If that was the question, I don't even remember at this point. What could I not live with?
Yeah.
Books, for sure.
Same. Yep.
But what about books? Why not music? You love music so much.
I think books give you, I like the story part of a book. There's lots of details to be able to read into a story. It kind of goes on. It lets your imagination create the picture that you want to see. And while you can do that with a song is kind of short-lived.
Yeah.
So I would say books. Plus you can, I guess there's music for a lot of things, but you can read a lot more. You can acquire more knowledge through books, I feel like.
Yeah, true.
So that would be my answer.
Mm-hmm. I would think the same. Definitely books. I also love music. It'd be hard for me to do my dancing to books. Let's just...
Did you start your dance class yet?
No.
TJ, I know you're listening right now. You to come up here and hold her accountable.
We have done a dance class together. BT Dubs.
What was this?
Oh, gosh, ages ago.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all need to relive this again.
It was so fun.
It was, but I definitely got not good moves. But compared to other people in the room, I had okay moves, but not compared to Meredith.
Hold on, was this like a cardio dance class kind of deal?
Mm-hmm.
What was it called? Do y'all remember? It wasn't Groovy Gains.
It was not.
No.
It was like dance Charlotte. Now I think it's called the Jam, and I do think that they still do things at like breweries. But they used to hold it over at Cruise Road Rec Center in Matthews, not far from like 74, the Chick-fil-A. That's where they used to do them, and it was so much fun. I loved it.
Yeah.
You know, I have been walking, like when I've been walking recently and I've been listening to music, I've been thinking how fun would it be for us to just be right up in the expansion room and people could come and we would just dance.
I'm telling you, we need to have like a survey that we put out. If you would want to take your little break throughout the day and come to Groovy Gains with Meredith in the expansion room, shout it out. Like we can make a class happen upstairs.
It's like a brain break.
It would be. Yeah, because it would be really hard for me to choreograph an hour's worth of dance.
Well, it's only 15 minutes.
Yeah,
You get a little 15-minute break, get it in. That's like 3-4 songs.
Yeah.
The best part of the songs.
Yeah, but we'd have to practice that a lot.
Oh, my Lord. The high C's in the house. Here
Yeah.
we go.
I don't want to go dancing looking like a dodo
just
head.
gotta- you
It's
just gotta-
already bad as it is.
I've seen you when you're getting ready in the training room in there, listening to your little ratchet songs. I've seen what's going down in there, and then you try. She just looks at me and she just keeps on going. I'm like, all right, I see you.
Right.
You don't need to practice.
Yeah, well, if I'm doing a dance, I do. I can't be looking like the people that were in the class.
No.
Fair enough.
All
Fair
right.
enough.
I'll keep thinking about it.
Okay. Groovy Gains is going to happen.
Yeah. Maybe if some people are listening, this maybe could get some people. If people are listening and you're interested, then you have to tell me. That way.
Come tell Meredith.
Yeah.
She's on the front side of the building. Come tell her you want to
Yeah.
hop in on that class. I feel like I like books. I like to learn. I know I don't necessarily like reading as much unless I'm trying to study something. So I like the learning piece, but music I feel like just takes me for a ride. Like it's really cool to listen to music and just kind of hear the story that the artist is trying to tell you. So in a way you're still like kind of learning and you're seeing that, but there's been some really interesting bands that I've appreciated. I've said in the past, Sleep Token I've really liked. They have very abstract lyrics, which it makes you really think about it. And there's some others out there that, you know, you have to really listen to it and pay attention, and it's interesting trying to decipher for yourself what they're trying to say. So I like that abstract thing. But I guess same thing with books. Like you can read it and you're kind of making up what it looks like in your own mind. So, but I feel like music. I like music a lot. That's what I'm going with. Final answer, Jerry.
Yeah. Sometimes I think Rob just chooses the opposite.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
We'll approve your answer for now.
Yeah.
You don't have a
Only
choice.
because we love music.
You don't
too.
have a choice.
All right, so we're going to do something a little bit different for our listeners out there who have been with us for a while. Usually we ask these questions at the end of the podcast, but today we are going to ask our rapid fire questions. Shout out to Brene Brown because she does this exact same thing on her podcast. And when you do great things, why don't we just copy them and do them ourselves? But we moved it to the beginning of the podcast because we also think that it kind of helps you get to know our guest host a little bit as well. So we're going to give this a shot. Okay.
Let's go.
I'll go first.
Okay.
You go second. All right. First question. Fill in the blank.
Oh, jeez.
Morris-Jenkins is...
Amazeballs.
Okay.
I like it.
Hadn't heard that one yet. Number 2, what is something that people often get wrong about you?
My name is Meredith.
True.
You guys have said that at the beginning of like a class, and then I'm like, I don't know that I've ever seen that in person, and then I finally saw it for the first time, and I was like, this is a very real thing. Hey, Meredith. Yes.
Hi.
How can I help you?
I'd just say.
We respond to both.
Yes.
Yep.
I don't know what people often get wrong about me. I think the story I tell myself is that I don't know the right word to use here, is maybe I'm a little, I don't know, standoffish. I do really want to use a curse word right now, but I'm refraining from doing so. Side note, I do like to curse. I don't know the word to describe that. Standoffish is the best way to say that until you get to know me. I'm a high CS, so I am definitely introverted until I feel comfortable around you.
Yeah.
So once I get to know you and I feel comfortable, then I'll open up some more. But until then, I'll be pleasant and I'll greet you and I'll talk to you, but I'm more reserved, maybe is a better word to say,
That's fair.
until you get to know me.
Yep. High CS's for the win. All right, next one. What's the last show you binge watched and loved?
Well, I think you already know the answer to that question. I don't really watch TV. So, Lord have mercy. If I were to say the last show that I watched like that, we going back in time, y'all, to Sons of Anarchy.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. It's been a long
I thought you were going
time.
to say One Tree Hill.
I've never seen that show. Yeah, I don't think that there has been one recently. My husband binge watches a lot of shows, like TV's his jam, but as noted from your Would You Rather, at night, if I'm going to go to bed, I'm not watching TV. I'm going to go in and I'm going to pick up a book.
Yeah.
They're usually what I call my for pleasure books. There is no comment needed on that, Rob, of what those
I was
books.
about to say, what are you reading right now?
Yeah, I don't even know the titles. All the titles are about the same.
She says, I remember what's on the cover.
I don't even look at the covers anymore. I just keep flipping. So I usually, if I'm not doing anything work related at night, I go to bed and I read. So I'm not really a TV watcher. I feel some type of way. I feel like it takes more energy for me to sit down and I'll watch football, but in some sports, but usually I'm not moving about the house, doing mom things and not watching TV.
Football team.
Go Bills. Boycott the Super Bowl. I'm part of the Bills Mafia.
Got it.
We're feeling some type of way about that loss.
Got it.
Let me just, can I say this? So, for those of you that don't know, Shalan and I are, I would call the best of friends, best friends. We've known each other after we consulted the timeline before the podcast started for 13 years now. So we are also part of a friend group called the Rock Chicks, inspired by a book series that we pretended like we were going to read together, and we did all read them, but that's where the Rock Chick name comes from. So going back to the Sons of Anarchy reference, so I did not watch it because I can't, the violence is too much for me. But Jax,
Did you watch that show, Rob?
I've seen I think the first two episodes or first two seasons, and then I stopped. I was watching something else at the time.
so Jax is the leader.
Yeah.
And so, what the Rock Chicks, Shalan is also Jax.
You didn't know that.
I
So-
didn't know that. Please explain.
Well, because she's the leader. He tells, she's like, we're going to go to this restaurant. We're like, okay.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Jax.
Yep.
As she hops on her motorcycle with her leather chaps on.
Yep. So for all of you Sons of Anarchy fans out
That's
there.
called a cut.
What? Oh, sorry.
Get it right.
Chaps are different.
Cuts on the
cut.
top. You motion to the top. Chaps go on the bottom, I
Got it.
think.
I'm tracking now. I'm not up on my motorcycle gang apparel, apparently.
So,
I can share some of my books on my Kindle with
I'm
you.
good. I think I'm good.
so if any of you are Sons of Anarchy fans out there, then now you know a little bit more. If we are comparing Shalan to Jax, then that should give you, even more insight on kind of who she is.
It sounds like that could be the name of this episode. You can learn about Jax from Sons of Anarchy over
Yep.
here. Well, maybe this will give us insight into our next question, which is, give us a concert that you'll never forget.
I haven't been to a lot of concerts, although I don't know how you quantify a lot. Probably one of the best ones I've ever been to was Josh Groban. That was quite a while ago, but my husband and I went to that. And if you're a music lover, I think you can appreciate the statement that when you listen to somebody that you can really get down with, you can feel it in your bones. Like it just resonates with you and you can feel the music.
Yeah.
And he gives a really great show. And he is one that if I ever bring up a concert, it's his. It was really good.
Nice.
Nice. Okay, this one could be tough.
I feel like I can answer this one for her.
What's your favorite meal?
Rob thinks he knows. My favorite meal? I have to pick one? Mm-hmm. Dang it. This is karma for all the times I asked Tech Builder and Build-A-Plumber. They're forever food.
It's bread with a side of bread.
I do like bread a lot. I don't know that I can pick a meal.
So hard.
That's a dumb question. I think you should take it off your list.
It's dumb because I can't answer it.
What do I really like a lot? I don't know that I really count this as a meal, but kind of like a go-to always, I think, is pizza. Usually, pretty much, unless it tastes like cardboard, I can eat it.
Pizza from where?
Well, one of my top places here, which is silly to say, and I might even be getting it from there tonight, is Costco. It's cheap and it's delicious, but
Like they're ones they make for you, or the like
Yes,
you buy their like frozen one?
no, they make it for you. I'm only going to be in that neck of the woods today, so I'm going to probably pick up one for dinner. But if not, we're fans of Brooklyn Pizza, Lorenzo's Pizza, and Tony's Pizza. Those are our go-tos, and usually I make Kevin pick that up on his way home from work.
What's the one that we do here? Is it
Luigi's.
How
Yeah,
would you
that's good.
compare
Yeah.
that against Costco pizza?
Costco's just different. It's a thicker crust, but it's got lots of delicious cheese on it.
Cheese
So
might be
good.
right after bread.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good point. Cheese.
That's my favorite meal is cheese with bread, please.
Yeah, it is. But the thing about Costco pizza, or Costco, I'm a huge fan of Costco. It's cheap. You can get a whole pizza. It's delicious. It's $9.99. So it's going to be dangerous when they open up a new one next to our house because I will be there much more. I have to go all the way to Matthews to
Yeah.
get it.
It's going to be game over, y'all.
Yeah.
It is.
So another exciting fact about the Rock Chicks is that at one point we talk about food so much. Every time we go out to eat, every time we're together, we talk about food in some capacity. When we go out to eat, we also felt like we could start our own show where we were eating and we would be describing how things taste, and like if you like this type of flavor profile, you're like Meredith. If you like this flavor profile, you're like Shalan or Veronica or Natalie or Jen. And so, but that didn't come to fruition, as you guys can see. But that's how much we like food and
Yeah,
talk
a
about
lot.
food all the time.
All
And
the
we
time.
thought we could make a show out of it.
Everything comes back down to food.
I think it would be an interesting show. And I would be interested to see, we don't have to talk about it right now, but it'd be interesting to see what flavor profile each person said. Was it like everybody was choosing different stuff, or did y'all have similarities in
There
what
are
you
some
guys like?
similarities
Yeah.
for sure, but sometimes definitely not.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I don't think me and my wife would be on the same one. Aside from Mexican food, whatever flavor profile that is, Mexican, yes, please.
Yes.
We are always brought together with Pizookie.
Yes.
Pizookie is.
Oh, that is so good.
It is so good.
Yes.
You cannot go wrong with Pizookie.
I've only had it one time in my life. I don't know
What?
that I like the name of it, but it tastes.
But it came out of the
Amazing.
Rock Chick book, so you should.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was invented from the Rock Chicks?
Well, that author put it in her book. That's how I knew how to make it.
Are we talking about the same thing? It's a dessert, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just
A
checking.
cookie.
A
Yeah.
cookie.
Yeah.
Yep. We went to a restaurant one time in the middle of nowhere for something with the kids. I think it was in Arkansas, and the restaurant had that. And I was like, what the heck is that? And I read it, and I was like, I don't like the name of that. And I started reading it, and I said, I like all the words that come after that name. And so we ordered it. It was, as you would say, delicious.
It is.
It
was
is
good.
delicious.
But it does give you gut rot,
Yep.
for sure.
So be ready.
So what we would do normally before Rock Chick Natalie had we figured out that she had celiac disease, is we would take a tube of cookie dough and put it in a cake pan, and we would cook it, and then it would come out of the oven, and we would put like a half a gallon of ice cream on it, 4 or 5 of us, and eat it as fast as we could and burn our face off. And it was gone in like, I think we've timed it even.
Yeah.
In like less than 5 minutes. And then you feel like you want to vomit. But it is really good. Then we have to lay out.
Yep.
It's good while it happens.
Yeah, it's good while it happens. And then there have been times we've all just had to lay out, literally lay on the floor because our stomachs hurt so bad. Because let's be clear, there was a lot of bread and cheese before that.
Next question.
Okay, I don't remember. Did I ask that or you asked that?
I'm up.
Okay.
Give us a snapshot of an ordinary moment in your life that brought you great joy.
That's hard to pick a moment. Not like a huge event, like just an ordinary moment.
Yeah.
Oh, dang.
I feel like ordinary moments happen all the time, but it's hard to recognize that it's like, man, this makes me happy.
Probably just being around an ordinary moment, not one specifically, but having a good family and good support of being able to come home. Like, as much as we want to say it's a utopia and sunshine and butterflies, dealing with your spouse and your kids and work and being in that hamster wheel, I think we take for granted how blessed we are to have what we have when we walk into it. So the fact that I can walk into my house, I can drive to and from work in my car and be home and have. Last night I walked in, I didn't get home until 7:30 last night. Kevin had made dinner, Ava was doing her homework, the dogs were going crazy. But if you step back and look at that, it's like, look at all I have.
Yep.
So I think those ordinary moments, we take them for granted a lot. So I'm grateful for those. We worked hard, and I say we, I mean Kevin and I, we've worked hard for what we have and continue to work hard for what we have. And I don't think we often appreciate as much as we should what we have.
I think it's easy to take those for granted until things change and you don't have that. And it's like, I just want to go back to what I had prior.
Yeah.
I get that.
All right, last one.
Jeez, we're not done yet.
The rapid fires are never really rapid. What is one thing you are deeply grateful for right now?
This might get down to a little bit later, and that question gets asked a lot. Not a lot. And this might sound like a silly answer, just to be alive.
Yeah.
And I say that because when I was in high school, I was in a really bad car accident. And that car accident, I was in the back seat, and we hit a pipe. It was in a dirt road. I grew up in the country. And we hit a pipe that was coming out of the road, and the car, they say, flipped in the air 7 times. And we hit a tree. And everybody, I was the only one that had to stay in the hospital. I stayed in the hospital for 1 night. I was released the next day, but all 4 of us in the car were able to walk away from that. And so when I think about that, or I think about like looking at cars and looking at car accidents when I'm going home or something happens, and I'm like, that was my one pass. Like, I can't get in any more accidents because I survived that one. So when I look at it that way, to be grateful just to be alive, but to be alive and normal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not to have walked away from that with any significant, I guess maybe some people would argue this, cognitive, you know, I can walk, I can be normal, I can talk, I can do all of the things despite that. And so I think, you know, even while we have difficult times in our life, to be able to put it in context, I don't think any of us should have walked away from that car accident.
Yeah.
Not one single one of us, but we did. And everybody was normal. Everybody was able to walk away, resume their lives, and move on from that.
Yeah, I can't imagine something like that. That sounds terrifying. Like, I mean, you have such normal moments in your life, and then something like that just terrible happens, and then it, like you said, you walk away from it, and I'm sure that there's probably stuff that triggers thoughts in your mind that brings you back to that brings you gratitude. Mm-hmm. Are there certain stuff that does trigger that for you, like that brings it back to the forefront, that you use that learned experience to guide you moving forward?
No, I think it's, you know, random things that trigger, you know, the memory of it happening.
Yeah.
I remember being in the back seat of that car. I know for a fact I did not have on my seat buckle. I know for a fact when they asked me, did I have on my seat buckle? I told them I didn't remember. But I was in high school. We were going to do a friend's softball game, and I had a soda in the back and I was riding in the back, had a can of soda, and the person driving it was his grandma's car. And when he lost control of the car, I remember lifting my soda up, like, I can't get any soda on, like, not really recognizing what was happening and trying not to get soda on the seat and get in trouble for dripping soda on the seat. And then everything just happened so quickly.
Yeah.
And so I remember thinking to myself, this is just a dream. Just wake up. Just wake up. And so it's like, if I see something to kind of trigger that, or I'm riding in the back, because now having teenage daughters, I have to ride in the back sometimes. Those abrupt stops or a swerve of the car will kind of trigger, and it just brings up the memory of it. But with those memories, it's more of just being grateful to be here.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I actually do think this is the perfect segue into what we're going to talk about today. As you guys know, we always ask our guest host what topic that we want to talk about or bring to everybody when we're on the podcast. And so Shalan just gave you an example of kind of what topic she was leaning in on. And Corey's going to love this title.
oh, geez.
The Learning to Rise. I love that. So learning to rise and overcoming challenges, overcoming setbacks, because we've talked about that on here before. I actually read that today. Sometimes it's like you don't necessarily have to go looking for setbacks and challenges. They're going to find you one way or the other. Mm-hmm. And so what skills do we have? What do we have to be able to overcome those challenges that we're faced with? And so the car accident is one of many things. I know that you've shared about challenges that have been presented to you in your life. So I guess my first question is, why that topic? Why do you think that's important to you? Why do you think it's important to share with other people about overcoming challenges, learning to rise above the things that maybe have happened in the past, but what does that look like moving forward?
Yeah, I'm no expert on anything, really, I don't think. But this brings up my quote of, I'm a big fan of Renee. Like Meredith, I also do not have a tattoo of that. But one of the quotes that she says is, when we have the courage to walk in our own story, we get to write the ending. And I think that that's pretty powerful, because ultimately, when push comes to shove, we have the decision-making power. If we want something, we are the ones that are responsible for going after it and getting it. There have been a lot of challenges, and I don't know how you make somebody have drive. One of the challenges, I guess you could say, now looking back, is my mom was a single mom. She had me when she was 16, and that was challenging for her, and nobody in my family ever went to college. And the story I told, and nobody ever pushed it. Nobody ever said, you have to go to college. And the story I told myself, I remember being in 10th grade and just saying, I have to go to college, because it's just like going to school. It's required. I've got to do it. I always wanted to be a teacher. So, the only way to be a teacher is you got to go to school to be able to do that. So it's hard, I think, in moments to recognize, particularly the challenging ones, if you can recognize them to be challenging or not, that everything does happen for a reason. But you have to make some decisions, and regardless of what those consequences are, you will be the one facing them. So if I chose not to do those things, if I chose not to go to college because my parents didn't go to college, or I didn't deem it as necessary, or whatever the case may be, I wouldn't be sitting here today. It's like those sliding door moments, right? Everything kind of leads you down this pathway. So I don't know. I just think it's, as much as you want to see other people rise, you can't control that for them. So it's what internally burns in you to make you make that happen. So I don't know if part of this drive comes from the fact that my mom was a single mom. So growing up, if I wanted anything done, guess who had to do it? Me. Like, if I wanted to move a bed, or I wanted to change the oil in my car, or a headlight in the car, guess who had to do that? I had to do that. My mom was working 2 jobs to pay rent, feed us. I have a younger brother, and so she had to do all of those things. So if stuff needed to happen, I had to do it. And so maybe that's part of recognizing, maybe subconsciously, the drive comes from there, is I have to be reliant on myself to make things happen. And that sometimes is a detriment as I've gotten older, but I've learned how to navigate that, I think, a little bit better. But, yeah, I don't.
Well, it sounds like in the moment as a kid, like you're growing up, those aren't always the first thoughts that come in our mind.
No.
If I need to change my headlight or I need to change my oil, it's not like resilience. Like this is a good life lesson. It's not that. So what was going through your head at the time?
Probably just, how do I figure this out? How do I, there are times in our life, I'll speak for myself, that things are hard and it seems overwhelming. You just got to dig your heels in. And you got to start somewhere and make it happen. And I can't even remember what I did yesterday. You think I'm going to remember what I was thinking back then? No, I remember having challenges, and, having to work full time while I was in college, paying for college. The one thought I do recall having was, the reason I'm going to college is because I don't want to do this anymore. I worked in hardware stores all throughout college, making, as I told a student one time, peanuts. And I didn't want that for myself. I didn't want to have, now if I would have known then that teachers still don't get paid peanuts, I didn't want to have the same struggles that I saw my mom going through. Like, she did the best she could. And my dad, I still talk to my dad. He is a great guy. And they just did good enough parenting, right? They did the best that they could when they were younger. And I guess subconsciously I didn't want that for myself. I wanted to be able to go and do better, to do better, I guess.
You mentioned something. I don't want to graze over it. I want to go back to it. You said something about sliding door moments. What did you mean by that?
That we just have moments in our life that if you choose to step through that door or not, regardless of which way you choose, you're headed down a different path. So I'll give you an example. Meredith and I met when she was already a teacher at Matthews Elementary. I came in as the literacy facilitator there. And long story short on that, eventually I became the assistant principal there. And the principal was transferring to another school, and he wanted me to take his place as the principal. And like many things, there's lots of politics that are involved in that. I didn't even get entertained for an interview for that position. We called it an emergency rock chick meeting, where probably lots of food and tears was had because it was devastating. I remember we went to Natalie's house. Had
another Pizookie.
Yeah, there was definitely food involved. Please know that anytime we were together, food is involved. But I remember crying on the way to Natalie's house. I was devastated and my fireball self, of course, had words with the person that said, we have somebody that has, and that's fine. I can get down with somebody with more experience. That to me was a sliding door moment that kind of launched this trajectory of where I sit today. If I would have gotten that position as principal at Matthews, would I still be there? Probably not. But that pathway still would look different than what it does right now. So I didn't get that job. I didn't get that interview. Sometime later, in education, you kind of get the tap on the shoulder. Hey, this position is opening. And it was for another principal job much further away at a Title I school. I got that job, and it was awful. I hated it. It was really far away. Kevin and the girls were on their own a lot of the time. I wasn't home with my family. And one thing I've learned at MJ is people leave managers, not jobs. And mine was awful. And at that juncture she had made a comment to me that did not set well, and the next day I came in and gave my 30 days. So from the trajectory of looking at when it didn't happen at Matthews, that was a moment in time that changed my course. If it would have happened, I can't say whether I would have been at Matthews still or not. Maybe. I think it's a 50-50 shot. So I think it's like, can you look back on these moments and see, if I would have done X, Y, and Z, this is where I would be. But I've done this now, and this is where I am. And I am thankful that that sliding door moment did not work out, because now hindsight's 2020, and I'm so thankful to be here at MJ.
So I don't know that maybe this, let me ask this first. You were there watching all of this. Mm-hmm. This is cool. That's your experience. What did all this look like from your vantage point?
Well, I was just thinking this as she was talking. I think it's interesting to acknowledge the emotion and the feeling that went into that, because I think that's real life. You know, it's like when you get passed up for an opportunity that you feel like is the right one, is the next step. It makes the most sense. It made the most sense to all of us in the moment. And, you know, coming, like Shalan being upset about it. And when we were on the way to the Rock Chicks being together, the emergency meeting, you know, feeling upset about it, crying about it, feeling hurt, feeling that's real life. You know, I don't think we can be robots and be like, you know, okay, that didn't work out. Like, that's just not. So I do think that the important thing to recognize is there's emotion there, and you feel the emotion, and you know, but you don't live there forever. You know, I think one thing I wrote down on my paper was, who have you forgotten that still believes in you? So, like, I don't think she ever forgot that the Rock Chicks believed in her, or a number of people for that matter. But I think that that's what you do. You feel the emotions. The emotions suck, and the emotions sometimes make you feel like, well, you know what? Forget this. I'm not doing this anymore. You know, but then that's where then I think you decide, once you step through the door, do you go right or do you go left, or do you go straight or do you go, which way do you go? So, you know, at that point she could have, you know, kind of just thrown her hands up and been like, okay, well, whatever, I'm not doing this anymore. But that's not what she chose to do. You know, it's like, okay, like you say all the time, good. They didn't want me as the principal at Matthews, then watch what happens next. And so, like, I think that's, from my seat in the stadium, that's kind of what it looked like to me, is like, yes, this doesn't make sense to us. We are all kind of really upset about it, frustrated by it, but then it's just like, okay, well, that's not what it is. So what's she gonna do next? How can we support her in what she does next? And so I think that that's important to recognize, is that there's, you have the feelings, they're not going to go away. We're emotional people. We've said that on here before too. But then what are you doing with that next? Are we just going to wallow in the emotion and never move past that? Do we never bring our thinking brain back online and say, okay, what's next then? So I think that that's important for people to know, is it's okay to feel that emotion. It's okay to feel hurt, frustrated, angry about whatever circumstances, but then it's like, all right, let's step up, Buttercup.
Yeah.
What's going to be the next thing that's going to be on this journey for me? And while the next piece in her journey, you know, wasn't ideal, I still think that she learned things from that. I think it helped her realize, like, the time that she was away from her family was not acceptable to her. You know, like, sometimes you don't know those limits until they're pushed.
Right.
And so then when those limits started being pushed, then she recognized, this is going against my values. This is going against who I am. And so I think then that's where you start having to be brave, you know, like, this is, for both of us, it's like, that's all we ever knew. And then to step outside of that is like, oh no, that's scary.
Mm-hmm. It is real scary.
Yeah.
And not having like, as Meredith is saying that, like, when I resigned from being a principal, the direct comment that I received was, this was a tipping point. I wouldn't say that I'm an overly religious person. I don't do good about going to church. Well, I won't even say that. I don't go to church, but I do believe in higher powers. I believe in a lot of things. And I just remember asking to say, just give me a sign. Just give me a sign to say, do I stick this out? Do I not? What do I need to do? And I remember having that thought for a long time. What do I need to do? What do I need to do? This is really hard. And the person is called a zone superintendent. she had come to the school one day, and since we were a low performing school, I had already been in that school for about a year, and I had an hour commute both ways. We were a late bell schedule. Kids weren't being picked up, so I would have to stay. I would have to get involved with DSS because I got kids at the schoolhouse at 6 o'clock at night. And she came to me and she said, Shalan, you have got to get the test scores up. And if that means getting a babysitter for your girls, then you're gonna have to do that. You're gonna have to come in earlier and you're gonna have to work harder. You're gonna have to work later. And I went home and I said, Kevin, I'm done. And he was far done before that point.
Yeah.
Far done. And I said, that's my sign. That is my sign. But always doing something and always working and always providing. My high S, I'm like, OHE double hockey sticks. Like, now what? Who's going to hire a teacher? Who's going to hire a principal? Like, and I knew at that point, just up until then, the 15 years in education, I did not want to go back into the schoolhouse. I did not want to be a classroom teacher. I did not want to be an administrator. So what was I going to do? Like, it was scary. And I will say the one constant of all my job changes that I have had in the education system, the constant has been Kevin. 1,000%. He has supported every decision I have made. For the most part, he wasn't keen on me being a principal, probably because of the drive, really, quite honestly. Nothing other than that. But he still stood behind me. He supported me both times I went back to get my master's degrees. He has always been there. So he was done. For the sake of the family, you do not have the right to tell me to get a babysitter for my children. And there was an inauthenticity about her where she's like, well, what are you going to do? And I looked at her. Here's my fireball. You ready?
Here we go.
Here we go. I looked at her and I said, that's none of your concern, because this is what I do know. I have one family. I am a hard worker. I will always have a job. This job is not worth sacrificing my family for.
Yeah.
And I said, you have 30 days. And she got 30 days and
you did your little hair flip and
I
walked off in her
did.
high heels.
Mm-hmm. I sure did. That was that. No looking back.
See, it's interesting. It's interesting hearing that story and then watching you relive that, because I can see the emotion on your face and all the stuff that you were going through. And I know I've been through hard situations like that. I know our listeners have been through hard stuff, and it's like you relive those emotions. And I almost get sick of hearing it. Hindsight's 20/20, but it's daggum true. Like,
Yeah.
you go back and look, and it's like I can see the path now that I'm looking back. Me and Brett went on a little hike out in the woods, and little did I know that this was going to be a long walk. Like, we were going to go camping for 2 days. And then when we got to the area that we were going to go camping in, he was like, oh, by the way, we're going for 20 miles. And I was like, okay. And it's cold outside. There's snow everywhere. Not ideal.
Such a Brett move.
Yo, this
Yeah.
man is crazy. But I had a good time. I almost froze to death. Word for the wise, don't pack your sleeping bag in the stuff sack for long periods of time, because it doesn't work anymore, by the way. I found that out. But anyways, we're out there on the mountain, and I remember, like, we're trying to figure out which way to go. And there's a path, and it's actually the Appalachian Trail. We're hiking a section of it. It was in Hot Springs in Max Patch. And I just remember, like, trying to find the path. And there was one spot where we're walking and the leaves have fallen. I can't see squat. Like, I don't know where the path is. And we kind of like walk down a ways, and then he's like, I don't think we're going the right way. And I'm like, I don't think so either. We're just trying to find this, because sometimes you'll see a little square, a little painted rectangle on the tree, and you're like, oh, there you go. We're on the right path. Just go this way and you'll kind of find it. We didn't see him anymore. And so we went back, and you go back and find the last known point, and they're like, this was not the way. I'm going to go a different way. And so for you, it sounds like you walked down the path, and then you found, like, this is not the way. I need to go back and figure out what is this new path for me. And as you were talking, and I'd be curious maybe what you found in this, how do we find our values in adversity? You find the challenging thing, and then maybe it was a value that you kind of knew that you had, but you didn't realize this is extremely important to me. or maybe you find a new value, like I am not willing to trade this. Do you feel like you may have found one, or maybe uncover one that was already there for you in that moment?
I have a hard time with defining values because I feel like so many apply just to, I think to answer that question I think first and foremost, you have to be open enough and receptive enough to recognize when it happens, or like, I don't know that this is really answering the question. In the moment where I'm being told that I have to have somebody else come and watch my kids, that was the tipping point.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and so I think a value is family. And I think, well, I know I put work first a lot. Always in the schoolhouse, I would do the same. I do the same here. So I know from comments from my family, I've tried it. I have to balance that, right? So I think understanding the value of family, and when that boundary is crossed, then we draw a line in the sand. Like, we're done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you get this, as soon as you heard her say that, something in your body, something in your brain was like, no. It's like, I feel like we all have experienced that. Maybe with family, maybe with something else. It's like, It's like a feeling or a thought or something that goes through your head, and that's when you know that it's been pushed, it's been crossed. Because I do think that the things that we value the most, the things that we hold so deep inside of us that are part of who we are, when someone crosses the line,
Boy, I don't even want to know how fast my eyelashes was moving when she said that. Lady got blown away in the parking lot.
Oh, whatever. It is what it is. Okay. Yeah, I do think too. I think a lot of lessons I've learned in that too is I like to learn. I like to grow. I know I don't know everything, but I think a value in that is just belief in yourself. That's probably not the right value to have, but maybe confidence, like that's like I'm always open for feedback, and I'm always okay with people pushing back. But in a teaching, we always say fake it till you make it, and even when you get to the point where you know what you're doing and you're doing good at it, there's this balance between being cocky and being humble, right? But you have to know, I think, the value in that. And a lot of these lessons is be confident in what that gut is telling you. Mm-hmm. When you know that line is crossed and it's compromising, if one of your values is honesty or growth, and it's compromised in some way, you'll know. Like there was no, while it was scary saying that I was walking away, that probably in hindsight was a long way coming. But I'm like, no, that's it. At that point, I knew. And Kevin knew. There was no question. Kevin was like, okay, we're done. We'll make it work.
Is that when you end up coming here?
Yeah.
How long was the period? Because I know we'll all find ourselves in that moment, like, I'm out. And then it's oh my gosh, I got like 3 weeks to make this work. What did that path look like?
Yeah, so Kevin said, we have enough money in the bank, take some time to get this figured out. I resigned, I believe it was by the time I got my 30 days. It was the beginning of a school year, so I think it was at the end of September-ish I was done. And by October, early November, I was getting a little squirrely because both of the girls were already in school. I was just home by myself. Kevin was working, and I was really trying to explore, okay, well, what do I do? I could, I looked at textbook companies, being a consultant for education, like pushing into districts and helping in that capacity. I love to organize. I like fashion. I'm like, I could be somebody's personal shopper. I could go organize somebody's house. I could do all of these things. And the principal at Matthews actually called me, and she said, I have an extra position through the end of the year. She's like, it is pulling small groups. So you would, work with 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders, and that's all you're doing all day long is you're pulling small groups. And I was so bored. at home. I was like, okay, I'll come back. But I really had to formulate what that game plan was. And so I went back, and as soon as I accepted the position to go back, I got a phone call from somebody named Jonathan Bancroft. And he said, I have a position open at MJ to basically be his assistant. And so I asked some questions that were make or break questions at that time. And I said, well, I've accepted this position. I don't really want to burn that bridge. And he said, okay, call me back in May, whenever he said. And I did. And that changed from being his assistant to starting something called MJU and getting classes online.
Well, if that isn't a sliding door moment right there, I don't know what is.
What did So how did Jonathan know to call me? Well,
Jesus.
The crystal ball. Yeah. Jonathan's daughter Lily and my oldest daughter Maddie played softball together, and it turns out that they were still playing softball together when I resigned. So I don't know if that came from Jonathan. The story goes, as Kevin relayed it was Blair. Like, you got to get Shalan to come to work at MJ. So maybe it was a combination. I don't know that I know the answer to that question, but here we are. So I did go back. So it was for a few months. I finished out that school year, and then as soon as it was done, in the in-between, I had a couple of interviews here and came on the team.
What was your first impression when you walked through the doors here?
Oh, shizniz, what did I get myself into? I mean, all I knew for 15 years was I stayed in Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools. That's all I knew. I had confidence in myself if somebody would take a chance on me, I could do what they trained me to do. I felt confident that I had the skills to be able to be successful. I didn't know what that entailed. And so it started out with small little tasks here and there, and then I just kind of started pushing the things that I knew in education, because when I was hired, they had just started a tech builder class. So actually on my interview, they had started a tech builder class. So I kind of started to insert the education side of things that I knew. So it fell into place, but it was scary. It was scary, but I'm like, just somebody's got to give me a chance. Like, we all have to take a chance on somebody, right? So
yeah, people who have never been in the school system or like been in a school day in and day out, you just don't have any context about how different it is outside of a school building. Like, to be able to go to the bathroom when you want to be able to eat lunch in peace, even if it's just at my desk not talking to anyone, much less drive out of the parking lot and go get something to eat with other people. That is absolutely unheard of.
it never happens.
No.
Never.
And if you think about it, particularly because being in the elementary school, I taught third grade, then fifth grade. So let's just take third grade, for example. I've got 20 to 25 8-year-olds and me all day.
Lucky you.
For 180 days.
Nah.
Right. So when you walk into this situation, just even forget about the job and the role that you are in and the tasks to complete. It's a whole different world. It's just not the same at all. So I remember being in the same situation, like even just like Googling, like, what do teachers do when they're not teachers anymore? Like, you don't even know what to do with yourself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do think it is crazy to look back, the hindsight's 2020 thing, to look back on it and to think how our journey has brought us here, and all the things that happened prior to that have prepared us for this, like, I feel like I can have quite a few plates spinning in the air, as can Shalan here at Morris-Jenkins, because you didn't have a choice in the classroom. You always had 100 plates spinning at one time. So there's so many things that we both gained from those experiences that I think then they transfer to what we do here. But it is scary as hell to walk into a new situation and not, I mean, it's just completely different from what you're used to.
And I do recognize, I have had conversations with other people, and I say, if I didn't have the 15 years in education and everything that I learned, I don't think I would be here today, but I don't think I would bring the value that I bring without those experiences.
Yeah.
Like, to be able to spin all the plates, to be able to have difficult conversations, to be able to build relationships, to look at everything and say, this is what I have the opportunity to learn from it. It is the experiences and our filters that help shape us every day that we move forward. And I am thankful that it happened the way that it did, so I could come here and be able to do the things I say to a lot of people, and I hate it for my husband because, well, I won't say. If he could be a volleyball coach as his job, he would love that. He loves coaching. That's his jam. Like, I just feel like I love it here. Like, this has given me the opportunity to do what I feel like I've known I've wanted to do from a very young age. And I enjoy coming. I don't have the Sunday scaries. I'm like, okay, usually on a vacation, I'm like, is it time to go back to work? Like, in COVID times, I told Kevin, Brandon says we had to go back into the office, so I need to go in today. He's like, did Brandon really say that, or are you just trying to get away from us? I'm like, I'm just trying to get away from y'all because y'all driving me nuts, okay?
You said our filters. I know you're talking about, like, first break all the rules with our filters and our talents. What do you feel like is your most valuable filter that you see through and utilize day to day? Meredith, and be ready because it's coming at you too.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know that we would, I guess, by filter, the lens in which we're looking and guiding the work that we do day in and day out. I just want to help people. And I think that's probably consciously or subconsciously. I mean, that's why teachers go into teaching, right? They just want to be there to help somebody see a difference. Like, we can have somebody walk out of a class and say, because of your class, I was able to do X, Y, and Z, or not even a class. Like, if I think of the training team, if somebody on the training team comes to me and says, because of how you've worked with me or how you've coached me, this has happened, then my job is worth it. So I think it kind of comes through that filter of helping others, of looking at, that's kind of goes back to Mark's podcast, People Helping People.
Yep.
Like, when push comes to shove, that's what it's about. Am I here? Am I making the people that I interact with and the people I manage better? I'd like to think so, because I also think that I have a team that would tell me if that's not the case. But I don't know if that answers your question.
No, it does.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What you got? Chicken Little.
I don't know if... I don't know. Okay, can I pause that question for a second? Because one other thing, I'm not going to speak for Shalan about this filter, but this has kind of been rolling around in my head since we started talking about this, because she's mentioned confidence a couple of times. And I think there's something to be said about the challenges that you've mentioned that have happened throughout your life, and the fact that it was like, single mom, not a lot of money. What do? I figure it out. Right. And you did. So then it's like, want to go to college. Somebody's got to pay for it. That's me. I figured it out. It happened. Right. So I think it's, I had to change careers. Although I always say that we didn't really change careers. Our students just look a little different now.
Yeah.
They're a little hairier now.
They are. Yes, they are.
Everybody's got a beard.
They are. But for me, this word confidence coming up over and over again, we kind of talked about this a little bit on the last episode about our core beliefs, is like, you've proven to yourself over and over and over and over again, the road might not be easy. It might be tough. It's going to be tough, but I've found myself on the other side of that time and time and time and time again. And we talked about last week about how sometimes we have to, like, amass, that's a fancy vocabulary word. Sometimes we have to amass this whole body of evidence that proves to us that I took the road that was a little bit different. I didn't have a choice, but I had to go down this road that was a little bit more difficult. But I've every single time have come out on the right end of that. And so I think it sounds like that all of those things throughout your life have kind of then also given you the confidence now. So, because one thing, I don't know if this is a filter that Shalan sees things through, but I see this on my side, is like when somebody comes to us and says, we need to build this. Okay. I don't know right in this moment how that's going to happen, but what I do know is we'll figure it out.
Yeah, like electrical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So
She's already got it figured out.
Yeah.
She just sent me the screenshot of line 1.
So I think that there's something to be said about if I'm trying to kind of tie what we've been talking about all together with this filter question, because I think that's a good question. I think that this confidence piece that has come along throughout these experiences that you've had, I see now where it's like, okay, we need to create a class like Tech Builder for electricians. All right. Right now, that feels like it could be a world away. But what we're going to do is we're going to take this step and this step and this step, and we're going to make shizzle happen. Because I think you know that you can do that because you've already done it so many other. You trust yourself. You have the confidence in yourself to know that you can do that. So I don't know if that's a filter that you see things through, but I notice that is that there's this like, we got this. I might not know right now how it's going to work. We may have some hiccups along the way, which we likely will. But at the end of the day, we're going to figure out something and we're going to make it work.
Yeah.
Because that's essentially what you've had to do through all of these things, is to overcome that.
I wrote down as you were saying that. I don't know that these are filters, but they are now.
Okay.
Trademark.
Trademark. So one, like I've seen this the entire time I've known you, and they kind of all link together. Tenacity is one. Like this child ain't going to stop. Like she's going to get it done. Which leads into the next one, which is an acronym, which I'm not going to say the middle word, but GSD, get stuff done. That one, she wants to say it.
Just say shizzle.
She mouthed it. And then the third one, like I've seen this in your story as you've been explaining it. It's like bet against me. Like something may not work. Maybe we need to call a rock chick beating here, but it's like, I'll show you. And it's not even just for that fact. It's just like, you recognize that this isn't the path that I'm going to go down. And it's like for some people, they get challenged like that and they shut down, or they're just like, well, it is what it is. Or they might even say, that old limiting belief, this is the story of my life. And they just accept it. And for you, it's like, I refuse to accept that. I'm not going to accept that. I'm going to make something out of this. And then the moment that somebody steps over the line, they get blown away with the eyelashes. And she says, bet against me, sucker. And, you've created those moments for yourself. So I think that's a beautiful thing. I don't know if those are filters, but
What are you going to say they are?
But we were just talking about this last night. Meredith, you're going to love this. Going through first break all the rules, and he's defining talent, and I've always just looked at it as the later sentences, which was any recurring behavior that can be productively applied. But if you look at it when he first defines it, he says, and correct me if I'm wrong, it was any thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. And I was like, oh, I didn't think about that. I missed that the first few times that I've read it. And so it's made me think differently about our filters, our talents, how we see the world, because those feelings and thoughts happen a lot. They create our actions. And so people that are skeptical, we were talking about this last night, somebody that's skeptical, you might look at it as like, that's a bad filter to see the world, but that makes the best detective out there. I would want to have that person looking through and sifting through data of like, I don't know that this is correct. And like, I'll let you know. Like, that's a fantastic talent to have. In the wrong position, it could be not good, just like anything else. But looking at the world through that, like those are things I really appreciate about you. And it's been cool to watch since you've been here. And, it's going to be cool to see as you continue to blaze your path in electrical.
And the response to all of that, as I've learned through another class, is thank you to both of you. Thank you. I'll not elaborate on any of that. Just thank you for those compliments.
You're welcome. Yeah, I do think it is the idea of how it can be thoughts, because I do think that's where a lot of it comes in is, and I wrote that down. We've kind of touched on it, but, and both of you can answer this. How do you think most people behave when they are up against a challenge? And why do you think they behave that way?
I don't know the answer to that, but, this is not answering that in particular, but kind of in a roundabout way, because some things that Rob just said with what he shared is, I find myself when people, going back to this people and they're in a difficult situation and they, for lack of a better word, have the excuses, or they don't take action, or they don't do X, Y, and Z, I get really annoyed at that and really frustrated. Shit or get off the pot, man. Stop complaining about, you are the one that can drive that. You are the one that has the ability to change the situation that you are currently in. And so I don't... Ask that question again.
How do you think most people behave when they run into challenges? And why do you think they behave that way?
Challenges are hard. It's easy to shut down. I think unless you have enough experiences, just like what you said, that you've come out on the other side to say you can do it, that it's easier to not, or you've taken the pathway where the narrative and the voice in your head, your subconscious, even your voice, tells you those things. I don't know a good example of that. Every time I go to Chewy's, they never. I don't ever go to Chewy's because it's too spicy. My palate on the Rock Chick show is not spicy food, y'all.
It's like that meme, the kid with the toothpaste. Wow, is it so spicy?
Yeah, I do not do spicy, not even a little bit. But it's do you feed yourself this narrative all the time that every time I go to Chewy's, they don't have the chips or they don't have what I'm ordering? Well, to me, in some degree, that's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You've already made your mind up that something's going to go wrong. So it's in these situations, I don't know that... I don't know. I don't know that the narrative in their own... I do believe in the energy that you put out is the energy that you get back. So if you're going to be negative Nancy about everything, guess what's you're going to attract a lot of negativity. That doesn't mean that things are going to be sunshine and butterflies. So I think maybe, I guess to answer that question is either people don't recognize, or they don't recognize that they can make it through, or they've had too many experiences where we kind of come to this victim mentality. I can totally respect people that have had lots of events or maybe one significant trauma in their life, and they're able to overcome that and not use that as a crutch. I have certainly had other traumas in my life besides the ones that you've heard about. And I can look at that and say, that's going to define who I am. The hell it is. No, it's not. So I guess it's how every person tackles that. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's a good enough answer.
Yeah. I look at it, maybe there's a guy named DJ Shipley, and he says, how you respond to life is through dials and switches. And so the way I interpreted dials and switches is there's certain things that are binary. It's either on or off. I'm going to do this or I'm going to choose not to. And then there's other things that are dials where that's more like finding balance. And I found more in my life. I have come back to it over and over again that true strength is understanding that a lot of things in life are about balance. It is far easier to be on the extremes of emotion. You can be angry about everything, or you can be extremely meek and just let things go. It's easy to be mad all the time. It's it's easy to be that way. Somebody cuts you off in traffic, I'm going to show him, I don't like, this test is hard, and they just, they give up, and it's easy to do that. It is also easy to be completely meek and just small and let people run you over. It is easy to do that. What's challenging is to find balance in the middle. Looking at adversity, I don't know that that's a dial moment. I'm getting challenged, and so it's either I'm choosing to address the challenge or I'm not going to. And so I think there are some challenges in life you have to figure out, like, am I going to go head on with this? Because I know about myself, once I decide this, I'm going to do it. I don't care. And I think that people have to recognize that I didn't think about it until you said it, is, do I recognize this as a challenge? Because not all things present themselves in that way. So I think you have to have the experience and awareness that, oh, this is a challenge. And I think that's half the battle. And then once you've seen it, it's making the decision, am I going to go head on and tackle this thing and figure this out, GSD, or am I going to say, this isn't for me and I'm not going to address it? So I think that that's just my opinion on challenges. You got to recognize it and you got to decide, am I going to do something about it or am I not? I know about me, like, challenge I look at as a gift. That was actually one of my questions, is what is challenge equal to you? And for me, it's truly a gift, because I recognize on the other side of challenge is some type of learning or growth. No matter if I have failed or I've grown, I usually like the failure side, because I learn a heck of a lot more when I fail at it. And I'm like, oh, do it again, try it. And so, yeah, I enjoy challenge, but I think that's the piece, is not all challenges are clear that they're actually challenges.
I would agree with that. I also really like dials and switches.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Why you been withholding that, man?
Sorry.
I know, that's really, to answer your question, what is challenge? I really can't answer that. Don't think I'm over in Rob's ballpark of, what did you say? Challenges are
Gifts.
no.
No.
I ain't there yet, man. I like to get them a little tiny bit at a time.
Bite-sized challenges? It's
Yeah.
the fun size.
Not that there haven't ever been big ones, big challenges, but I would prefer to, but I also think that's like, it's like the opposite of, I think they become little tinier, bite-sizier when you yourself are growing yourself, you're pouring into yourself. I think they don't all feel like huge, smack you in the face challenges when you're working on yourself, because when you're working on yourself, the challenges don't feel as great because you're working on the skills you need to be able to navigate them to begin with. So I think that maybe those two kind of go hand in hand, is they start to feel less, they're still challenges, but you start to maybe build more of that confidence that I have the skills to be able to navigate it better, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think sometimes you learn the skill, but then sometimes the challenge represents itself, and if you haven't exercised that skill enough, then it feels a little clunky. You're like, I've done this before, but man, it hurts again.
Yep.
Of course, I'm going to relate everything back to fitness, but I was at the gym this morning, and I've been just like enjoying just lifting. I haven't done a ton of cardio, and I went to a class not too long ago, and Sam Hagee, right behind on the other side of this wall here, lied. And well, she just didn't know. She said it was leg day, and I'm like, sweet, let's go. She and Dane shows up, and then we walk in there, and it's freaking conditioning day for an hour. I'm like, sweet. And this place that we go to is not easy. And that hurt a lot. A lot. And I was like, okay, I might need to do some more cardio. So today I walk in there, I'm like, I'm going to do cardio. So I ran a few miles. And then the last thing I picked was my least favorite movements, which is running, burpees, and I had to do farmer's walk. And all three of those are terrible. And I haven't done them in a long time, but I was excited because when I was running, I'm like, this sucks a lot. And I wanted to push down, like, slower, please. And then I'm like, I'm going to keep it where it is because I only have to run for 2.5 minutes. You can do it for 2.5 minutes. And it's remembering, yes, Shalan, it's remembering what that feels like to push and being like, I'm capable of this. David Goggins always talks about reaching in the cookie jar, like those terrible sucky life moments. You put those in the jar and you save them for later. And then when you need to tap back in of like remembering who you are it's like I'm opening the cookie jar back up and I'm reaching back in there. I'm going to pull that out. Like both of y'all have had some challenges in your life and you faced a lot. But then when you run into a challenge, it's a gift. You run into a challenge, you're like, yo, I'm a bad mofo. You know what I've done in the past? I blew that principal across the parking lot. I remember. Shoot. You know?
I do have two things to say about that. Number one, the moral of your story is don't exercise because 2.5 minutes on the treadmill. Rule number one in life, don't get dead. I'm definitely dead at 2.5 minutes on a treadmill.
Especially running.
Yeah, especially running. But number two, just to say this quickly, because this could be a whole podcast probably in itself, is with the challenges and having all the things that we've talked about, when you get to a point, because I would like to think that everybody out there has at least a somebody. Challenges are easier to get through when you have a support network. Mm-hmm. If I didn't have Kevin and I didn't have my family and my mom and my dad and my sister-in-laws and all the people to be able to, and the rock chicks to be able to help support me through that, history does say I'll usually get through it. But I think it's easier to get through when you know you have people on your side supporting you through that.
100%.
Like you got people on your team, man. They're there to back you up, and come hell or high water, you will get through it because you know you have that extra support.
That's a switch. You got friends that were there with you, or you don't. Mm-hmm. Even if it's one, that's a switch. That's on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
Going back to that I wrote that question. I can't believe I didn't think it would come up at all. Who have you forgotten that still believes in you? Because I'm sure there are people who are, you know, if they've had this recurring, like, oh, this always happens to me, or, you know, that kind of thing. My hope too is that everybody has somebody who still believes in them, and kind of tapping back into that. I think sometimes it's hard when we have challenges to say to those people, I'm really struggling with this. You know, but at the end of the day, it's those people are believing in you no matter what. You know, whatever happens, you've got people there that can help you navigate that. I think it becomes increasingly more difficult to navigate challenges when you try and do it all by yourself.
Yeah. When you don't believe in you.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep. You don't have enough belief for yourself, so you have to tap in. You know, I know Shalan got told when she left education, when she left Matthews, that it was their loss. And it was. But to hear that from other people, right, that's saying how many other people still believe in you. There was a long, long list. So it's like, okay, well, this didn't work out, but look at all these other examples I have of how people do believe that I can do more than this, or even the same thing. But I think that's important to recognize we've talked about this in here on the podcast as well. Sometimes it's hard to go it alone, you know, when you have challenges. And so let's just all be a little bit vulnerable and say, I'm having a hard time with this. I need just to know that you got my back, or just to help me navigate through it. We talked about how our core beliefs a lot of times are just those beliefs. Mm-hmm. They're not facts. A lot of times we need somebody to just say, that's not true at all. You know, nobody's going to want a teacher. You know, what can teachers do outside of teaching in a school building? We need somebody to look at us and say, there's lots of things a teacher could do, because teachers have a lot of skills. And sometimes you just can't get there on your own because you're so in it, and you have your feelings and your emotions around it. So I think the support system, tapping into that, I do think that's important.
Mm-hmm.
May we all have rock chicks in our life.
That's right.
It's a shame you don't.
What would we call
Rock chick Natalie's in my life.
We keep it spicy.
I've met her once.
No, listen.
She
now,
taught a class.
The upcoming gala is going to be Rock Chick Night Out.
Just Natalie?
Oh, and Veronica.
Yeah, Veronica.
I had met that. Met that lady. I was gonna say my old car was named Veronica. That's why I said that. I was like, my mind went car.
You guys already have something in common.
Heck yeah, let's go. This will be a good night.
Yep, it will be.
Well, this has been enlightening. We do need to talk about something that's really important. Songs. I listened to the first one, and I was like, I think I know this one, and I did.
How could you not? Wait, would you listen to number 5 or number 1?
Hallelujah by Rufus Wainwright.
I like pretty much any version of that song.
Beautiful. Mm-hmm. It is a nice song. I like that one. Do you
Okay.
want to sing it, Meredith? You've been singing the entire morning. As soon as I hit record, you stop singing.
No, Hallelujah is not in my range.
Hallelujah. It's not in your range. Choked on my
Not
coffee.
in my
on that one.
range. Okay, the next one. Come What May. Nicole Kidman and Ewan McGregor.
Hold on. When did Nicole and Obi-Wan Kenobi start freaking singing?
From the movie Moulin Rouge.
Dang, I didn't even know Obi sang. I need to go back and I need to listen to that one. Is it good?
Well, I made my list.
It's number 2.
It is number 2. That's also our wedding song.
Oh, Kevin.
I know.
So sweet. We need to get him on here.
Please. Well, I feel like, we had an incident at last year's gala with Mitchell. And he's like, oh, I already know Kevin, Mr. Hi-R. I was like, shit, too many people know all the stories from the disc class of Kevin.
You keep telling stories. People are like, I know all about you.
Yeah.
Okay, it's my turn. Rise Up, Andra?
I don't know. Sure.
Andra Day, Andra Day.
That's such a good song.
I don't even
Did
know
you
that
not
one.
listen to it?
Can you sing that one?
No, I cannot. I'm not singing. I'm not even going to say it's out of my range. Oh, look at She's a little
I know it. But
Sing
I,
it.
I'm
Come
not-
on.
No.
I feel like,
Please.
if
No.
I may make a suggestion to the podcast when you're doing this,
To play the
Corey,
songs.
Yeah, Corey, put a little
Soundbite.
soundbite in there.
Oh, for
Okay,
each
we're
one,
going to
so
try
they know.
this. Place it here. And we're
Okay.
back.
That is a good. That one is so perfect too for what we talked about today. You know, I mean, it is kind of just the idea of rising. That one is. That's a good.
That's a hard
Yeah.
video. It's a hard music video to watch.
Yep.
Yeah. What are the lyrics, though? Meredith?
Stop! I know what you're doing. Don't worry. Maybe
I know. Okay, I know you know what the next one is.
Yes, I was hoping I got to say this one. Drop it low, girl. Drop it low,
Yes.
girl.
I can die
I
happy
always
now.
make Randy play that song if he's doing the Randy things he does in the morning
Yes.
really early and he's bothering Austin or Sean or whoever plumbing supervisor is sitting there. I'm like, ooh, Randy, you know which one to play. Drop it low. That is like what the girls would say when they were little. Mom, can we rock it out? That means make the windows in the car vibrate. We gonna jam out to that song. Yeah, they may have been exposed to some curse words growing up.
Well, I know
but-
that Randy listens to this. So, Randy, the next time that Shalan comes in and her walk-up song is Drop It Low by Esther Dean.
Yeah,
That's such a good song.
absolutely.
Yep.
I have more bad songs.
Bad.
I'm
I had to
Bad
keep,
in quotations.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm actually really upset because Snoop is not
I
on
know,
a single
it's
one
too
of these.
hard. It's too hard to pick 5.
Yeah.
You followed the rules, which doesn't surprise me. I mean,
Does
Mark
everybody?
sent 20.
He did?
He gave us a lot.
Oh yeah. Well, you said 5. You got 5. It was hard to pick. And
He's also
Snoop
a high
is,
R.
Yeah, he is a high R. It is hard to pick 5, and Snoop should be on the list, but he had to come off.
So who on this list did you take him off for? The last one? Hallelujah.
No, Hallelujah has to be on there. So does Dolly.
Yeah, 100%.
Which is our last one. Hit us. What is
Last one is Islands in the Stream by Dolly Parton and Kenny Rogers.
I-
That
never-
is a great song.
Never heard that one either.
Yes, you have.
No. Just 'cause-
Islands in the Stream. That is what we are.
Wow. Oh, I do know that song.
You knew it before I sang it. I will tell you, I will never hear that song again
yes, the
and
Rock
not
Chick.
think about the Rock Chicks and just all of us singing it. Talk about, how memories or music spurs memories. Never will I hear that song again and not just see all of us.
At
Pazookies
the
flying
lake.
everywhere.
Yeah.
I do think Pazookie was concluded, and we
Yeah.
were playing cards.
Veronica and Natalie know every single word. I
Yes.
cannot say that. I do not know every single word. They do.
Yeah, they do.
As
It sounds like at least you know the start.
I do know the
We
chorus.
know the chorus,
Yeah,
yeah.
I jumped in on the chorus. All right, so what does this playlist say about Shalan Fry?
Drop it low, girl.
I don't know. Let's keep it spicy. You don't know what you're gonna get, so I guess y'all need to be prepared if you're gonna encounter me. Come with a windbreaker on. Apparently,
Mark, next time she rolls up in your office coming in hot, you just, oh, Drop it low, girl. Drop it.
A little slower down. The door might not slam as hard.
Yeah.
Take the edge off.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you being here so much. Hopefully, everybody, you got your redemption episode.
I hope.
Although we still did talk about the eyelashes.
Yes.
No,
Y'all have to experience that. Like got an idea. I'm going to link up with the marketing team, and I'm going to take a secret video of her with the
Yeah, me
eyelashes.
too. Because
And then we're going to create a GIF. Was it a GIF? And I'm going to text that. I'm going to send that we're going to put that in the show notes.
Robbie had me do something for marketing the other day, and I had to be recorded. And I'm like, can you just not do that?
The
Put
fact
the black line over my eyes.
the
so
fact
nobody
that
can
she
see
was
it.
not happy about that, I'm sure the eyelashes were going. So
I'm sure they were too.
Yep.
we can make a single blink turn into what it actually is. So I'm going to get with the marketing
Gifts
team.
coming soon.
Yes.
I hate you all.
Okay. So before we bring this thing in for a landing, we're going to do a new segment here. I'm excited about this. And so this segment is going to lead us into our next guest host. So anytime we do our regular episodes, this question won't be involved. But when we bring our next person in, this question will lead our segment with our guest host. So the question for our next guest, do you want to say it?
No, because I don't remember what I wrote.
Well, here you go. There you go. In purple right
This
there.
is Shalan's question
Shalan's
for our
question
next
for the
guest.
next. Yep.
How do you see your circumstances influencing who you are, and in what ways are you taking charge of overcoming the obstacles you face?
Heck yeah.
Boy, doesn't that sum up what we talked about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at us.
That's really good. Do you want to do the rapid fire recap?
No. I hope Brandon listens to this because, as I had said to both Rob and Meredith, I did not prepare, not even a little bit.
Look at
So
that.
a lesson from Brandon. I just came in and we did a wing it,
Yeah.
and here we are. So hopefully he makes it all the way to the
I
end.
can hear him right now. See, I told you.
Okay, you're the best at rapid fire. We'll just.
Oh,
chime
no, I
in.
was hoping we were going to skip it. Well, today's lesson was learning to rise. And I think we can take a ton of lessons from Shalan of how we look at challenges in our life, how we overcome them. If you ever want to get rid of any type of problem you have, blink quickly. But taking all these challenges and deciding, am I going to tackle this or am I not? How do I envision my filter looking at this? What things can I leverage? I mean, heck, even in your situation with, I don't know that this is the path for me, and looking for a signs may not always be what they seem to be. And in this case for you, it was, but it's led you into a ton of other avenues in your life that have created great things, and some of them even great joy and enjoyment for you. So I think we can all look at challenges a little bit differently today because of what you shared. So yeah,
Good job.
thank you.
Yeah. I
We'll
think
keep you around.
Yep.
All right.
I think that was great. All right. Well, we do appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. We could talk for hours about all kinds of things, but
There's a lot of singing happened here. I like it.
I know. Don't
I
get
have to
used
have a what's it called? Like a branch off podcast of you just singing.
No way. Don't get used to it, people.
It's going to happen more.
Only Shabuzi and Dolly Parton get that special treatment. All right, folks. Thanks for listening in. We hope you enjoyed our first co-hosted podcast of the year. Please don't forget to follow Easy Does It on Spotify and Apple so you never miss a new episode. We will see you guys again in 2 weeks. Peace, love, and Easy Does It.
Hey, appreciate y'all.